I am Jeff Biggs, and I am ready for wave 2 of NFL free agency.
I am Marcus Mosher, and free agency's done, Jeff.
No, not yet.
Glenn Stretch Smith, and man, was that free agency supposed to be a 4th of July show. It was a popcorn fart.
How about them Cowboys? It's the Cowboys Squad. Everything Dallas Cowboys every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from America's team, the way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get ready and squad up. It's the Cowboys Squad Show, starting now.
Squad up because we are ready. NFL free agency kind of continues, but I agree with Marcus. In all honesty, it's pretty much dead. There's some names out there, but the good names are gone for the most part. But hey, you know what? We are not, and we are glad to be with you. Welcome to another edition of the Cowboys Squad Show. That is the co-host of the daily Locked On Cowboys podcast, Marcus Mosher, along with former Cowboys coach Glenn Stretch Smith. Good evening, gentlemen. We'll have Aisha Morrison back with us on Thursday, along with Landon McCool. But got to let you know that this episode is brought to you by FanDuel, because FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. That's right. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. All right, we got a lot to get going as we get started here. Coming up, the very latest on the Cowboys, including more Max Crosby rumors. They just don't die. They're still out there. We'll get into that. But Marcus, a lot has happened since you were with us a week ago, last week. So let's kind of dive into it piece by piece, if you will. The Cowboys added former Rams corner Kobe Durant. You and Landon did a show on that, breaking that down. We'll get into that, but let's just start there. They're still missing, though, that key linebacker, that key starting linebacker in the middle that we've been calling for and hoping for and wishing for, and it still hasn't happened yet. What do you think's going on?
Oh, they're just waiting to the draft at this point. I mean, I wish I could be more optimistic than that, but there's not a linebacker that's currently available in free agency that would be enough of an upgrade that's worth pursuing. And there's not really any linebackers that are available in the trade market that are worth giving up assets for. So we wait. And here's the good thing. This is a really deep linebacker class, whether it's in the first round, day 2 of the draft, day 3. I think you can get starting caliber players throughout this draft. So if you're going to have a big need going into the draft, linebacker's not the worst one to have. For me, though, it's how do they address it? Do they do it in round 1? Do they wait till pick 92 that they just picked up? Do they wait till day 3? We'll see. But I don't expect them to make any big moves at linebacker between now and that first Thursday night in April.
Yeah, I mean, again, they're in a position now where they've shoehorned themselves into having to wait for the draft. I mean, that's just where they're at. And I do think it'll be interesting to see how they maneuver through it. I think you guys talked about on a podcast possible draft moves, giving up draft capital, receiving a little more draft capital, where the Cowboys might go with that.
I got trades for you, Stretch. We can get in them all day long.
Yeah, I know, but I'm still from the school that, I do trust what Jerry says. I think that he had every intention of jumping into this thing. And maybe there were voices that were within the building that didn't want him or talked him back from maybe going a little, swimming in some deeper water than maybe he wanted to swim in. So with that being said, I think the Cowboys are still holding some sort of card. I'm just not sure what it is.
Can we talk about free agency really quickly? Because this is a team who has now shown for the last 15 years that they don't like participating in free agency, right? And that's fine. For a long time, it was only the bad teams that were spending money in free agency. And that was, it was kind of the good teams were draft and develop. But I think things have changed, Stretch. You're seeing more teams trade than ever before. You're seeing more of these good teams be active in free agency than ever before. And you're seeing them steal money from future years to try to be good right now. And I think the Rams are a good example of that. Philadelphia is a good example of that. I just don't know if you can win in the NFL in today's league by being a draft and develop team and just kind of nibbling on the edges in free agency, because your roster's never going to be good enough. And I think they did some good things in free agency this year, but have they really improved? Have they closed the gap on teams like the 49ers and the Rams and the Eagles? I don't think so.
Well, I'll ask you. You like to kind of pose and say let me ask you this. I'll ask you guys this: with the state of college football where it is today, players transitioning, portal, team, okay, lack of development at that level, are we to the point now where there is more value, a lot more value in saying we'll package these draft picks much in the same way that the Rams have done to go and supplement to get their team better? And you can say, well, that's a flair for the obvious, because obviously you want a more seasoned veteran player than you want a rookie player. And I get that. But the NFL has also always been about risk reward from an injury standpoint. I thought it was interesting what Aikman came out and said on a Rodeo Times podcast, where he was making mention of training camps not being as tough, and because of that, leading into some what he felt like were excessive early season injuries. So I'm asking kind of a twofold question. Where college football used to be the feeder system for the NFL, is it now the trickle up where, because these kids are playing in 2 or 3 different schools, maybe they're not getting developed to the level that guys used to be developed at? I don't know. It's just something that I think about if I'm a big horse race guy. So I try to handicap. I try to look at the entire picture. I try to see, okay, did this horse have trouble coming out of the gate? Well, they're putting blinkers on him. Okay, so he's not going to see this. Are those type of handicapping scenarios working themselves into the NFL? And I'll just take an example of Tyreek Woolen. I think he was a receiver. He wasn't school to school, but as a receiver the first 3 years of college, then he's got to be a much more seasoned corner now that he spent his senior year at UTSA, then he spent several years in Seattle. Might that be happening where guys are saying, we're going to put value in these guys who've been in the NFL and they have been in that developmental role for 2 or 3 years?
I mean, yes, I think so. I think you're not getting as much quality coaching, because I think a lot of these guys they're in programs for 6 or 7 months and then they're gone. Right. So yes, I think that's part of it. I think the other part of it too is that let's go back to the 90s, right? When Jerry Jones won the Super Bowls, when you were drafting players, you were getting a lot of these guys on 5 and 6 year contracts, right? So you would draft a guy and they would develop on your team, in your roster, in your system. Coaching turnover didn't happen as much as it does today. Whereas now you draft a guy, a lot of times, in round 2, round 3, they're gone by the end of that 4th year. They don't have time to develop, or they've only had 1 year to develop. And now you've got to make a decision on them in free agency. And that can make team building really hard. I just don't think you can be a draft and develop team only in today's NFL, because these players want to move. They want to hit free agency, and there's more teams trading than ever before. If you're not active in free agency, it doesn't mean that you can't win, but you're almost kind of tying one hand behind your back. And that's my fear, Stretch, here with the Cowboys, is that I think they've done good work, but I don't know if they've done enough work yet to really close the gap. And our friends over at FanDuel, they opened up free agency with the Cowboys at 8.5 wins. They're sitting at 8.5 wins right now after the first week of free agency. And you've seen other teams like the 49ers and the Rams see their win totals increase. Obviously, there's people around the league that don't believe the Cowboys have done enough in this portion so far.
Well, so my my thought to that would be, initially, this team has really done nothing more but turn the bottom of the roster through free agency. That's about what they've done.
Yeah, and I think they've made certain positions stronger. Like, I think safety, they're in a better spot than they were at the end of the year, right? Are they better at edge rusher? Slightly, probably, right? But then you got to factor in the Donovan Ezeraku injury. Are they better at linebacker? I would say no. Are they better at corner? Well, adding Kobe Durant, who we'll talk about in a second, that's a good move.
Yep.
But Deron Bland also had foot surgery this offseason, and we've got no idea when he might return to the field. I think they are improved, but it's not enough. And if you're a Cowboy fan, you want to see this team make big leaps forward to actually contend with those top teams in the NFC. And I just haven't seen them yet.
Well, we'll see. I mean, we do have a little bit of time, and some things can still happen. They could, like you guys talked about, they could trade out of a pick, and they can do some things. They might be kind of going back and forth with somebody that we don't know about. So they have time before we give the final grade. And I think I'm not telling you that's what you said, but yeah, I think we'll see.
Well, I think Jeff, the best way to look at it is like we're in the second quarter of a game right now, and they're down 14-10, and it's not over, but they're not in an ideal spot either.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. So over the weekend, according to reports, they pulled out of talks with the Steelers about Patrick Queen. What does that say to you? And what about some of the other names that we've heard, like a Jonathan Grenard or even Alex Highsmith with the Steelers?
So let's start with the Patrick Queen one, because I'm going to bet this is what happened. And again, this is no inside knowledge. This is me just kind of knowing the way the Cowboys work. The Cowboys had a fairly high grade, I believe, on Patrick Queen during the 2020 draft. Probably Stephen Jones, Will McClay, Jerry Jones looked at their board, said, hey, this is a high graded player that we liked a lot. He's only 26 years old. He might be available for the Steelers before they got to give him this roster bonus. Let's see what it would cost to go out and get him.
You talking about a high grade coming out of LSU?
Yes. I know. I mean, maybe not big fans.
No, go ahead.
He bowled out in Baltimore. Go ahead.
He did. And then my guess is that the coaches heard that the Cowboys were maybe interested here. So they threw on the tape, and they didn't like what they see. And that's how we get a room that didn't come to a consensus. It didn't sound like the Cowboys ever offered Pittsburgh a deal, but that's the way this usually works. You kind of throw a name out, you start watching them talking about it, and then you come to a consensus whether you want to pursue it or not. Dallas obviously didn't think it was worth it.
Okay.
I think that's probably about as good of 35,000 foot overview as can be given, because I don't know that if you watch Patrick Queen, they probably let him out of Baltimore because he wasn't great in coverage. I mean, he's not great in coverage, and I'm not comparing Murray to Queen. I'm not doing that. I'm saying Murray wasn't great in coverage. So, my gut feeling is that what you're saying is probably a pretty good assessment of where they are.
Yeah, and Queen is not as bad as Kenneth Murray is in coverage. He's also not as big, and he's not as physical in the run game. I think he's a better player, but is it worth giving up an asset and paying that guy the money that he's going to command or that he's due? Probably not. My guess is the Cowboys felt like, hey, if we don't get anybody in the draft, maybe we'll circle back and see what Pittsburgh wants to do, much like they did last year with George Pickens when they wanted to draft a receiver at 12. That didn't happen. They did not draft a receiver at all, and they turned around and drafted George Pickens, and that worked out okay.
All right. And so what about Highsmith and Grenard?
So Highsmith is somebody that Landon and I have thrown out because Pittsburgh is paying TJ Watt $40 million a year. Their backup, Nick Herbig, is going into the final year of his contract. He wants a starting role. He also wants to be paid. And this is a way for Pittsburgh to move on from a player who's going to be 29 years old, who struggled with some injuries, and get some draft capital. They're clearly trying to load up for next year's draft. Highsmith is an awesome player. He would be a fantastic fit. I would love to see the Cowboys make that move.
Who did Pittsburgh hire as a defensive coordinator? Joe
Patrick
Witt Jr.?
Graham from the Raiders.
Okay, is he a 34 guy?
Yes and no. Not really traditionally, but they did say that, they've got so many good pieces on that side of the ball. That's just what Graham is going to run, is a 34. But my guess is it's going to look different than what Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin ran over the last 20 years.
Right.
And yeah, that's a point I'm making. So might they transition away because it's not going to be the same? Might they transition away with, from some of that personnel?
That, and I think there's also a chance that Herbig, who again was really, really good in limited time, wants more snaps. This would be an easy way to get assets and give him more snaps.
All right, and lastly, do you think the Grenard door has closed, or
no? I think that's another one that the Cowboys might circle back to after the draft. I think they want to see what happens at pick 20 and pick 12. I wouldn't rule that one out, but it doesn't seem like they're all that interested in going out and getting him right now.
All right.
I don't think financially that makes a lot of sense, but
Grenard wants a new contract, and that's what's going to make this a little tricky. Yes.
All right. And I have not looked at the updated list of available free agents, but Marcus, nobody stands out to you off the top of your head. That might
not
be
a linebacker.
Bosa can stay healthy. You wouldn't want him?
Who's that?
Bosa.
Oh, I think Bosa would be a really good situational pass rusher. I thought he played pretty well in Buffalo, but as these guys get into their 30s stretch, and I'm sure you know this, they don't love going to OTAs and mini camps. A lot of these guys would just prefer to show up in August. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case for guys like Von Miller, Joey Bosa, and Jadeveon Clowney.
Yeah, I mean, Von Miller's, he's 3 or 4 years older than Bosa, right? So
yes.
Yeah, I think that would scare me at 36, 37, where Von Miller is for sure.
I agree.
Yeah. All right, when we come back, got to give you the latest Max Crosby rumor update. We'll do that when we come back. This is the Cowboys Squad Show. Got to talk to you, though, about FanDuel because it is that time of the year, and college basketball, as you know right now, is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night, from the early tip-offs to the late-night West Coast shootouts. There is always action on the board. And right now, FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. Now, you can build any college hoops parlay you want, rivalry games, matchups, whatever fits your need. You can mix spreads, totals, player props. They can match to see the slate that you're playing out, and then you can apply the profit boost and instantly bump up the potential payout. It's that easy. And so here's what you do. You go safe, you go bold, you ride the team you've been following all season. It's your parlay, your style, and now there's more upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. All right, welcome back to the Cowboys Squad Show. Former Cowboys coach Glenn Stretch Smith and the co-host of the daily Locked On Cowboys podcast, Marcus Mosher. All right, so over the weekend, Jeremy Fowler said on ESPN that, I'm paraphrasing, that basically the door is still open, not shut, for Max Crosby, even though the Raiders and Crosby have said, okay, it's done, he's over, he's not going anywhere. But according to Fowler, the door is still open. It may be quiet on that front for a while, but that could definitely change before or after the draft. And when you stop and think about it, I mean, I just, you know how sports works. When something like that goes down, very rarely can a guy really come back and stay with the team, no matter what they say. It's like you already traded him. You got to do it somehow, some way.
Yeah, I won't be surprised if Max Crosby does get traded. I just think it's going to be closer to the season or even into the season. I think teams are going to want to see how he's recovering from this knee injury. And again, we don't even know if Baltimore failed him because of the recent knee injury or because of some past injuries. That's something that has yet to come out. But I do think there's going to be a market for him. And it's not going to be 2 first-round picks like it was previously. But I could see teams that are in the market or, that believe they're one of the 3 or 4 top contenders being like, you know what, we'll give up a first-round pick next year to have Max Crosby for this stretch run. Or, hey, if we put Max Crosby on our defense, that'll be enough to get us over the hump. I do think he gets traded eventually. I just don't think it's anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't see with them going back to the where he, failed the physical, didn't he fail the physical, whatever the scenario is. I don't see him going back on the trade block. To me, I think the Raiders did enough in free agency to get themselves in position to, you add him as a piece to what they did. And I think that's a pretty good looking football team, especially if you could get a veteran quarterback who might come in there and mentor Mendoza.
Sounds like Kirk Cousins, by the way, which I think that's a pretty good fit with Mendoza, but we'll see. And it sounds like Crosby is open to playing for the Raiders, and maybe that's what causes this thing to heal a little bit. But I just won't be surprised if he's back on the field and he's playing well, if teams start sniffing around again.
Yeah, I think so too. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But I think you're right. I think at this point they have to let him recover and be ready to go and see him back on the field again. And from his standpoint, I mean, he, with that injury, he lost his leverage for the time being as far as getting out of there. So until he's back and healthy and can prove himself again and show everybody that he's okay, he's got to do what he has to do. But like you said, we'll see.
One quick thing on Max Crosby, just a general thing. This is why I advocate for players trying to get paid as soon as possible rather than trying to wait it out and maybe make more money down the road. Crosby signed a big deal last offseason. If he would have waited one more year, I highly doubt that he's getting the same contract that he did a year ago. So now he's a bargain. You look at the market, and I think he's a bargain, but at the same time, Crosby's got that financial security that's going to set him up for life.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. All right, let's talk Kobe Durant and his signing. I always liked his play with the Rams. Thought he's just a sneaky guy, gets to the ball. But as you pointed out, Marcus, he kind of breaks the mold for Cowboys corners of recent past.
I mean, shatters it. So here's some stats up for you. Since 2015, the Cowboys have signed an unrestricted free agency, drafted or traded for 27 different cornerbacks. He is the shortest of all 27 cornerbacks. He's got the second smallest arms of all cornerbacks. The only one that was shorter was Chidobe Awuzie, and he is 11 pounds lighter than the next lightest cornerback that they've acquired. And he's going to play on the outside. Like, this is Will McClay and his guys in the front office. They love long cornerbacks. Their average cornerback is over 6'1", and it has 31.5-inch arms. 32.5-inch arms. This guy is tiny. I think this shows you that Christian Parker has some pull with that front office, because there's no way Will McClay would have ever signed off on paying a player like this. And now they have him, and now he's probably going to start.
What do you think, Coach?
Can he get on the runaway mine train at Six Flags?
Barely. But you know what? He's really good at playing on the outside. And I think he's been small his whole life, right? He knows how to play. He knows how to play that outside corner spot. I wonder, Jeff, if this is going to open them up to more possibilities in the draft, because in previous years, Landon and I would look at a list of all the top cornerbacks in the draft, and we would take out Sharpie. We would just scratch off all the guys that are under 6 foot and all the guys that didn't have 32-inch arms. And it gave you a really good cheat sheet of the guys that the Cowboys were going to draft. We circled Savon Ravel last year because, hey, over 6'2", over 32-inch arms, that's what Will McClay likes. That's who they drafted. Now I wonder if the list is going to be quite a bit longer now that Christian Parker is running this defense.
That's a great point.
I think you just signed that guy trying to throw you guys off.
I mean, thanks, Will. I appreciate it. Now we got to do a lot more work on prospects.
We'll get them off this trail.
That's right.
We'll sign a little one.
I mean, it's honestly, there is a chance that's the case. That hey, this is just the best corner available. He's the best value. He doesn't fit our thresholds, but we have no other choice right now. Coach, you're right. Like that honestly could be what happened here.
Yeah, I think they were absolutely, had to have somebody. That's why I don't want the one thing that scares me to death about thinking where they are in this draft is drafting for need. I mean, when you start drafting for need, I'm telling you, it is an appetite for a really bad meal. I'm just telling you.
Well, can I ask you a question, Coach? Because this is something
you can't.
I'm going to ask you
anyways. I want Love to fall to 12, and I want him to pull the trigger.
Well, good. I'm glad that you're bringing this up because one thing that Landon and I talk about all the time on our show is positional value. And if you're not sure what positional value is, that's weighing the positions that just matter a little bit more than the ones that don't. And traditionally, and I believe it was Bill Walsh who called them the money 5 positions, which is quarterback, offensive tackle, wide receiver, pass rusher, and cornerback. How do you value those positions versus the non-premium positions when it comes to players? Because there's going to be some players in this draft that play off-ball linebacker and safety and running back that are awesome players, but do you value those guys more than offensive tackles and pass rushers and cornerbacks?
Well, you can't. I mean, I'm just telling you. I mean, but what I think is just trust the guys that look at these guys all year and trust that they're going to go and give you an evaluation that you can put them on the board with. That's a position I'd be in.
What if I don't trust those guys?
Well, you better fire their ass as soon as the draft's over and get you some new guys.
Well, I mean, I just mean the front office as a general, because to their credit, they've been really good at drafting offense between CeeDee Lamb and all the offensive linemen and Jake Ferguson in round 4, Dak Prescott. Like, we could go on and on. It's not so much the case on defense. They've had a lot of whiffs on that side of the ball. And I do worry in a draft where they have to get 2 starters in round 1. I don't feel confident that they're going to be able to hit on both picks.
I mean, it is a scary proposition. There's no question about it. And like I said, if you're sitting there at 12 and Love falls to you, are you not going to pull the trigger?
No.
No, God. See what I mean? Then that's you're the kind of guy that should get his ass fired.
I mean,
that's what you got to do.
But here's the thing. I mean,
if you leave that guy on the board to draft a less football player, that's drafting for need.
100% agree. But this defense was the worst defense in franchise history last year.
You think I don't know that? I watch this every day.
I like the way you bleeped yourself out. Very good.
You think I don't know that?
Well, I know, but they weren't active enough. If they would have been more active in free agency, it would have went out and got 4 or 5 new starters, I think you and I could have had a good conversation.
I'm telling you, they were going. I mean, you say 4 or 5. I wanted 1. You say, well, Rashawn Gary, okay.
Jalen Thompson's a good player.
To me, he's a rotational player.
I agree with that. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, so they didn't address one of them. And what I'm telling you is, if you're sitting there at 12 and that guy's there and the phone doesn't ring, and you don't turn the card in, then you need to spend a lot of time worrying about whether you want to get a frontal lobotomy or put a bottle in front of me, because that's where you're going to be.
Wasn't there a song that had that? I'd rather
Stretch. Have Listen, I totally get where you're coming from, because I think Jeremiah Love is a better prospect than
to hell with. But I'm saying to hell with him. I'm just saying whoever it is. The point I'm making, go. Let's exit him out of it. You have to put him up on that board, and you have to trust that you have them lined up right, and that's how they have to come off.
Well, let me ask you this then. What if there's an offensive tackle or a guard available at 12 that's just a much better player than your top cornerback? Are you drafting a guard?
You got to take him.
I see. That's what, again, I understand the sentiment, but the problem for me is you've already spent so many resources on that side of the ball, and you might be drafting the better player, but it's not going to matter. And that's my fear, is that this defense is so bad that they desperately need an influx of talent. And even if it's a reach by a couple spots, I don't know if you can afford to draft another offensive player.
So bad because they pulled the trigger on so many bad ones. Do we need
I don't disagree.
I'm just saying. I don't want to sit here and, be Dusty the Downer, but I'm just saying.
That's usually my job. But yeah, go ahead.
At the end of the day, they have done a poor job on that side of the football.
100% agree. It's just they've gotten to themselves.
So what makes you trust they're going to do any better this year? Because you think this defensive coordinator is going to reach over and grab a hold of the bullhorn and he's going to be the one that's talking the loudest?
3 minutes ago, I just told you that I don't trust them to draft in that side of the ball. I don't. That's why.
No, so what's going to change? Is Christian Parker is he going to reach over and get the bullhorn and and be the loudest guy in the draft room?
Honestly, probably it's just going to be luck whether you hit on the right guy or not. I think with Micah Parsons, they were viewing him as a linebacker. They got a bunch of injuries at edge rusher, and they had to move a guy, and he ended up becoming an all-pro. Unfortunately, a lot of the draft process is luck-based, and I think you're going to need some if you want this defense to turn around.
I'm not disagreeing. You got to have a little luck, but when you start flipping the quarter up there and barking heads or tails, that's when I check out.
I'm with you. You also could get some luck in terms of players falling to you that shouldn't fall at positions that you need.
Like the Notre Dame running back?
No, not the Notre Dame running back. Like the Miami edge rusher.
Okay. Now it's going to be specifically.
Yes.
Hopefully, we're going to eliminate these guys. And hopefully it ain't that guy that falls to you, or it isn't that guy that falls to you. To hell with that. If one of them fall to you, you better pull the trigger. And I ain't talking about that dog that you got out back named Trigger either.
All right. When we come back, I'm gonna throw it to you both in a different way, and let's see if we can reach a conclusion on this. And also, want to look at the board, look at the right now the starting depth chart, if you will, and get your thoughts on that. All that coming up and more. This is the Cowboys Squad Show. All right, well, it is tax time, but for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth, wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're going to get a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in, meeting a real person, and walking out knowing that your taxes are being handled right. So head to turbotax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment. All right, welcome back to the Cowboys Squad Show. Thank you for everybody that is tuning in, watching us live, listening later on. We appreciate it. A lot of good comments in the comment section. So we kind of hit on this in the beginning, so let's kind of bring it forward. Okay, obviously, we're talking, like I said, a lot of great comments on the comment section right now. We see what's going on. The Cowboys, no matter what they say publicly, privately, they know where they're at and where they want to be and what they need, what they really, really need, or what they really want. So my thought is, as we, count down to the draft, do you think the Cowboys mindset right now is, okay, then we're gonna draft 2 starters and that's the goal? Or do you think they're thinking, how can we use one of these picks and try to get a starter? How can we do something to get a veteran player like you guys were talking about that can help us right now?
I think it might be a combination of both, honestly. Like I could see them saying, hey, we're going to use these first 2 picks to get some young guys in our secondary, and we'll use the 3rd rounder that we picked up from the 49ers to trade for a linebacker or trade for an edge rusher. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. I also wouldn't be shocked if they're looking at 12 and 20 and being like, you know what, we're going to be able to turn these 2 picks into 3 players. We're going to move down from 12 to 16, or we're going to move down from 20 to 26 and pick up another pick inside the top 100. And that's going to be 4 guys that we can throw at our defense. And that's how we're going to bring in an influx of talent. I don't know that they have a plan of, hey, we're dead set on these 2 guys. That's what we're leaving the draft with. I think they're more flexible than that. I think they are going to be open to trading down, but I think they're going to try to use all of these top assets, the first 4 rounds, to figure out the way to get the most bang for their buck on defense.
Where are they in the first 4 rounds? 12, 20. Give me the numbers again.
92 and 112.
Okay. So here's just a thought, is that from what I understand, the people that I've talked to, this is a very good draft, 35 to 95. Very good. There's a very good pool of guys in that particular pond. Okay, so then the question becomes, then you ask yourself, would we rather get ourselves in position to fish in that pond with more poles in that pond, or would we rather take 20 and 12 and see if we can get the for sure guy in the top 6 or 7 that create day one a rolling ball of butcher knives and a starter for us for 5 years? And can we then get in position to get ourselves back and get another pole into that pond of that 35 to 95, that 60-player pool over there? So let's take out who the names are, and let's just say, would there be a, for instance, that could get them back into that, just get above the Commanders and get in that position and still be able to fish the other and still be able to catch fish in a really good pond? I'm just throwing the possibility out there.
Well, now we're talking about one of my favorite things, hypothetical trades.
Nice.
Yeah, I think there is stretch. There are a couple teams drafting in that 4 to 6 range that love making trades. And I'll give you an example. The Cleveland Browns at 6, their GM, Andrew Berry, has been one of the most aggressive teams in the league at trading down. They need an offensive tackle really, really bad, but there might not be one worth drafting at 6 for them. But at 12, that's a different story. I could see a situation that would play out where the Cowboys trade picks 12 and 20 to go up to number 6. That would be ahead of Washington, who drafts at 7, to go get your premier defensive player. Maybe that's Arvell Reese from Ohio State. Maybe it's Sonny Styles. You put whoever you want into that range. And then you get back pick 39. So you're dropping from 20 to 39. It's about 19 spots. You're still at the top of the second round. You can grab a linebacker there. You can grab a corner. I would not be surprised if they're exploring moves like that to try to get that one elite player and still have another pick inside the top 100.
Okay, so we're back to one of the first comments I made in one of these podcasts, where I said, how many true first-round grades are there? Jeff Biggs, do you remember me asking that question, or were you scratching your ass during that time?
So you said about 12, right?
Right. So I think that when you look at where the Cowboys are, here's where, fellas, I'm telling you, you got to trust them, putting them on the board, because I think that sends you to the map of the direction that they're going to go. If let's just say it's 15 or 16, what is the value of the 20th pick if in fact you're picking, and I get it, if the phone doesn't ring, you got to pick somebody, and you're going to pick somebody that probably has a high second round grade, and so is everybody else, right? So are all the other 14 teams that are in that position. But that, in my mind, gives you the route that I believe they could go if we can figure out how many true first-round grades are there. And then, is there somebody that the Cowboys might be real shot in the ass with that they can jockey that pick to move in one direction or another, again, to get back to fishing that pond that we were just talking about?
And one of the things I'm going to be curious to see is, do they try to make a move before we even get to draft night? And we've had these in the last couple of years where teams are just getting these deals done ahead of time, not even knowing who's going to be on the board, because they generally have a sense of how the top 5 or 6 picks are going to go, and they don't want to try to make that deal while they're on the clock. And maybe the Cowboys do feel like, hey, we know we're not going to be able to get Sonny Styles and or Arvell Reese at 12. But if we move up to 6, we can lock ourselves into one of those 2 players. Maybe that's what you see them doing, because if you have a true first-round grade on those guys and you think there's a big drop-off, it probably does make sense to go up and try to get one of those players. How aggressive are they going to be to trying to do that? We'll see.
Yeah, so when I start explaining stuff like that, doesn't it start making sense to you? How come I got my ass fired and I'm on here with you guys?
I got that. Never mind.
I love it, Coach. I love the insight.
It's an open forum. You can say whatever you want. I mean, I've always been from the school. You go to your church and I'll go to mine. So go ahead.
By the way, really just to circle back on first round grades, because I don't want to get into psycho-analyzing stretch. That sounds scary. Right now, just kind of the chatter out there, and these things can change a little bit. 10 first round grades is what teams are kind of been talking about right now. 10.
What did I say? I think I said 12.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. And I mean, I can remember saying that. And I mean, I got a bunch of people that, that gave it the bad applesauce belch. Yeah, I get it. And there's not yet. Now you're sitting there on that, what I think is on the cut line.
Yeah. And that's what's always, this is why I love the draft, is because not only are we talking about players, we're also talking about football philosophy and drafting. And hey, do you take that first round running back, or do you draft that second round corner that you absolutely need? Because there are times where, man, I get it. Like, that running back can be really exciting and dynamic until you get to Sunday, and then you don't have anybody that can go out there and cover AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. So it's what makes this thing so hard, but it's also what makes it so fun.
Yeah. Amen. Well said. What about some of the guys that have been cut loose or starting to get cut loose, like L'Jarius Sneed, for example? Any guys like that stand out to you at all that they might be able to pick up or have interest in?
I think for a lot of these guys that are getting cut now, and honestly, a lot of the guys that are still available, I think they're just going to wait until after the draft. And this is something we should talk about. Free agency used to be an event that was like 2 or 3 weeks long, and now it's like 3 days and it's over, right? And so a lot of these teams, they've already shifted away from free agency to the draft. And if they don't fill that cornerback need, maybe L'Jarius Sneed is somebody that they circle back to try to fill in a spot. But I think if you're Sneed, I think you're just going to wait until you see what situation pops up. But he is certainly named to keep an eye on as we get further along in this process.
You got to shift gears. I mean, what if you miss that guy at Tarleton State today that worked out in Stephenville that you could pick up in the 7th round?
Is that a real school?
All right. Well, so go ahead.
I'm trying to think. Tarleton. That sounds like a fake school that you just made up.
No, it's real.
Is it real?
I beg your pardon, pal. For a guy who says he's in the scouting business, you might want to lay off for 2 weeks and then maybe thinking about taking another 2 weeks off. Tarleton State? Just a thought.
You guys need to go visit all these schools here in Texas at some point.
Reach up there with your right pinky finger, go to the keyboard and hit that refresh button.
I'm Googling it right now. Tarleton State.
So I was taking a look at the current depth chart, and again, there's still time. This is not the opening day roster, so we have to leave that in there for them to still make some other moves. But I mean, do you see Shamar James as a legit starting linebacker? Do you see Siobhan Revell? Can he take that next step? Do you feel confident with him being a starter at one of the corner spots?
Coach likes Siobhan Revell a lot. Coach, why don't you go ahead?
I mean, what I want to see from him is how does he take to the coaching of a new staff? You talking about Revell?
Yes.
I want to see how. Yeah, James, I feel is the same way. I don't know that I have a real clear evaluation of how I feel about him one way or the other, because he plays like one or two plays and then they yank him out of there. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of volume with him. You know, I mean, I think I do like how they've kind of, again, turned the bottom end of the roster and cut some guys loose and put some emphasis on some guys.
I feel the same way. Like I don't even really think about Revell at the cornerback position when you look at the depth chart, because I just have no expectations. Like, I'm hoping he's better under Christian Parker, but I don't know if Christian Parker likes him. I don't know what he thinks his ceiling is. I don't know if he thinks he can play on the outside. Maybe he's going to prefer smaller cornerbacks that get in and out of their breaks better. I honestly don't know. And he's one of the biggest wild cards for the Cowboys this year. I could see him potentially being one of their best corners. I could see him not being a part of the cornerback rotation at all. So I don't know. And I actually feel better, Jeff, about Shamar James. I wanted to get to that as well, just because I saw more of James last year. He was only 20 years old as a rookie, so I do think there's some development there. I don't think you want him to be your starter. I think you want him to be a rotational linebacker, and then we'll see. But honestly, I think I've got a better grasp of what Shamar James is right now than I do Siobhan Revell. All
right, that's fair. We haven't spoken with you, Marcus, since they made some of the other moves. You mentioned Jalen Thompson. What about PJ Locke and his experience with the coaching staff? What he might bring? So they've made some moves. They've improved, but like we talked about at the beginning, there's still. The linebacker is obviously glaring, and I think we'd all feel a lot better with another corner, at least, for sure.
Yeah, I love the signing of Jalen Thompson. This is one of my favorite guys going into free agency. I'm glad the Cowboys got him. I thought they got him on a great deal. This is somebody who played just about every position in Arizona's defense. They moved him all around. He was very durable. He even played through some injuries this year. My guys in Arizona said he's an awesome player. He just got kind of caught up in being a free agent with a new scheme in a new system. He thought it was time to leave. I think Thompson's going to be one of the better safeties that they've had over the last 5 or 7 years. And I think PJ Locke, I don't think he's a starting caliber safety, but I think he's somebody that can play a role as that third safety, fourth safety. We saw him playing a bunch of big games for Denver. I'm perfectly fine with that signing.
And you guys brought up another Cardinal on defense, and why don't we get into that when we come back? It's a nice tease. We'll do that as we finish up our final segment. Coming up real quick, this is the Cowboys Squad Show. All right, Marcus. So you and Landon on your show today also looked at a member of Cardinals defense that might be an option, might be available. Tell us who that is and why you like it, potentially.
Actually, two guys that could potentially be targets for the Cowboys. We'll start with the big one. Yeah, Josh Sweat, the edge rusher who actually signed with the Cardinals last offseason, had a really big year. Sounds like he potentially wants out. I don't think he loves his fit in the new scheme. Remember, the Cardinals fired Jonathan Gannon. They hired Mike LaFleur to be their head coach. So I think Sweat is somebody that could potentially be had. via trade. Now he's got a big injury history, but the contract is very manageable. And I think the Cardinals would be asking a lot, but that is somebody that you can plug and play into your defense right away and gives you a big upgrade on the edge. And then one last one, Zaven Collins, who the Cardinals drafted from Tulsa in the 2020 draft. He's actually been moving back and forth between off-ball linebacker and edge rusher. Remember, the Cowboys have a connection there with Ryan Smith, who was the secondary coach over in Arizona. He's now at Dallas. Collins is somebody that I think Arizona would be willing to move on from.
They were big on him, right?
Yeah, it might be somebody that Christian Parker sees as his next Zach Bond, that guy that maybe played too many positions with his previous team. Keep an eye on both Sweat and Zaven Collins.
Yeah. I mean, I like the call with Collins. I think I want to say, wasn't he a first round pick though? I mean, I would think it would be. I mean, I'm not sure that they would give up on him.
Well, just from talking to people, he's due I think it's a roster bonus here at some point, and they're getting new linebackers. So I think he would be somebody that could be available potentially for a day 3 pick, and he's on the last year of his contract. So maybe this new coaching staff doesn't view him as a long-term piece.
Interesting. I like that. Okay. So with that said, and you brought up the question, I think it was last week, Marcus, and we've already kind of hit on it, but from where we stand, I think, would you say that the Cowboys have improved? They're definitely, I think, at least on paper, better than what we saw at the end of last season, but not enough, I think, to bridge the gap like you were talking about.
It's hard to say because I think on paper, if you're just looking at the names, I think they have improved. But then you've got to factor in the injury part of this. And this is the part that I keep bringing up during our daily show is we have no idea what DaRon Bland is going to look like coming off another foot injury. Like, he might not ever be the same. And you had a healthy DaRon Bland at the end of the season. You don't have a healthy DaRon Bland now. That is a big loss.
But don't you think they know that? I mean, don't you think the doctors
100%. I mean, 100%. But I also don't know if they know. They probably don't know what the foot's going to do. Donovan Ezeraku is another guy that was healthy at the end of the season. Now he's coming off hip surgery. Again, all indications are that he's going to be fine for training camp. But I always get nervous when you start talking about edge rushers and hip injuries. Like, that's a little scary. I do think they're better.
Especially when they're undersized.
Especially when they're undersized. And I think they're better, Stretch, but I don't think they're significantly better.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's fair.
Let me ask you something, Marcus. Who is this starting strong side linebacker for the Texans right now? Do you know?
I believe it would be Henry To'oTo'o.
Take a look. Get your depth out and do your little looking real quick. I want you to look at this. Go ahead. We got a few minutes here.
All right, I'm there. I'm looking at him right now.
Who is it?
Henry To'oTo'o.
No, it's EJ Speed.
Well, I mean, the problem is you're talking about. Are you talking about in base, or are you talking about in your 4-3?
Okay. Do you see EJ Speed on that depth chart?
Yeah, I have him as my backup middle linebacker behind Al Shahir.
Where'd he go to college?
EJ Speed. Oh, Tarleton State. There we go. Good call. Man, all that time I thought you were setting me up for like a trade guy.
Wardrobe is provided by Flat Bill Willie.
Look at you.
You couldn't have scripted that any better.
Oh my
gosh. Out there.
I really thought you were telling me like, hey, there's a guy available.
You went from thinking I had made up a school, that there was a made up Texas school, to in fact, oh boy, maybe time for me to lay off for 2 weeks and quit.
Yeah, so Cowboy still has a little in him. I can see it.
I love that.
So, Stretch, let me ask you, do you think after what they've done in free agency, or frankly haven't done, do you think they are better now than they were, let's say, like in week 16, 17 this year?
I mean, I think if you're really asking me that, we're talking about splitting hairs. I mean, I could probably make a case for the fact that minus Osa and, minus, I don't know, one or put whoever you want to put in there, Hooker, whoever. I mean, they haven't, I tell you this, they haven't moved the needle for me. How's that? They haven't moved the needle.
And that's what I was going to say. If we even have to ask or talk about it, it means they haven't done enough, right? I was hoping that by the time that we did this squad show after free agency, we would be talking about, hey, Cowboys are leaps and bounds better. They've improved this position, and this position. It just hasn't been the case yet. And again, free agency is not over. Maybe they can go out and get 2 or 3 more guys that can contribute. Maybe they make a big trade before the draft, but I'll be honest, I'm a little bit disappointed.
And I'll be honest, that for me, it's a little bit more than a little disappointed. I really felt like they would go and address this, and maybe the one thing that I want to give them the benefit of the doubt is maybe it was just too much. Maybe they made a play at Max Crosby. They made a play at Dean.
Yeah.
I mean, 0 for 2.
Well, and honestly,
they made a play at somebody else that we don't know about.
But I think this is where they've had problems in free agency. And real quick, side note, I think they believe that Christian Parker and this new coaching staff can get more out of what we saw from the players last year. And that's how they're going to improve. But the problem that they've had in free agency is they value Nakobe Dean, let's say at $10 million, right? So that's their offer, $10 million. But that's not the way free agency works. These guys get paid 25 to 30% more than what they're worth. And we've seen them in contracts over and over again. They always try to lowball first and then gradually work their offer up. You can't do that in free agency. Your offer right out of the gate has to be your strongest offer.
What I tell you, it's like shopping at, Jeff. Were you sleeping when I talked about this?
I don't sleep when you talk, Coach.
Yeah, I know. I said it's like going to Central Market for your groceries. It's a little more expensive.
And you've got to know that.
That same piece of fish they've got over at HEB, who, by the way, owns Central Market. I know you don't know anything about this up there in the Yankee country, but at the end of the day, it's the same piece of fish. It's a little more expensive when you go get it at Central Market, and that's where you're at in free agency. And I think you're making a good point, Marcus. You've got to pay a little more because you're not shopping that way. And to me, I know the Jones family. I mean, when was the last time they really you really set back since Deion Sanders, and you really set back and said, man, they did what? They paid what? I mean, I guess it could be Dak with that big number, but I mean, they don't do it very often.
No, and they're typically a franchise that likes to take their time with deals. They took their time with Dak and with CD, and obviously Micah Parsons. That didn't work out. I don't think they are great at this high pressure, high leverage situation where you've got to decide in 5 minutes, not 5 months, right? And honestly, they just need more practice. They need more practice bidding against these teams that have more cap space. And until they get used to doing it every year, I don't know if they're going to get better at it.
I thought there was going to be just one big name defensive player that they really, really wanted, and that they were going to, whatever it took, they were going to find a way to get that guy to really be the foundation for what they want to build. And so that's where I'm kind of disappointed that they missed out. And I get it, things happen, but now they got work to do. And like I keep saying it, but because I'm trying not to be Captain Obvious, but I mean, we're talking about it. They have to know that where the window is at and what the opportunity is, and you don't want to waste another season with the offense. And so we'll count down to the draft and see what happens.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they make some more moves after the draft, like they did last year, whether that's trading for George Pickens, they signed Jadeveon Clowney, during the season. Don't think that all their moves are over just yet because they didn't sign guys in the first week of free agency.
All right. Final thoughts before we go. Coach, from you and Marcus, what do you and Landon have coming up the rest of the week on the daily Locked On Cowboys podcast?
Yeah, we've got a busy week of shows. We're going to continue to talk about some players that the Cowboys might be able to target with that new 3rd-round pick they got from the Osa Odigizua trade.
Nice.
We're continuing some draft profiles, so make sure you guys are tuning in for that.
Coach,
I hope I'm gonna be tuning in because I'm relying on those guys to give old Stretch a little radio information. So yeah,
nice.
I'm right behind them, cheering them on. BEAT, beat them, BUST, bust them, beat them, bust them. That's your custom. Go, fellas, go.
All right.
Is that what you learned at Tarleton State?
Hey, partner, let me tell you something. You learn something every time you get on here with Stretch. Every time.
Every time. It's true.
It's
every
true.
Time.
I'll vouch for that. All right. Love you guys. Have a great rest of the week. We'll be back on Thursday night. Be sure and check out Marcus and Landon every day on the daily Locked On Cowboys podcast. Thank you to everybody watching and listening. This has been the Cowboys Squad Show.